Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We got another fun one, and I got the wifey with me today, and we are talking about tips or prepping you for game day. Now, game day could be different for each of you guys. That could be getting ready for a CrossFit competition. That could be getting ready for an endurance event or even a sporting event. So we hope that you guys get some good value out of this episode. And if you have some people that you're maybe signed up with for an event, whether you're signing up for a marathon and you got a buddy that's doing it with you, then don't be shy to send this episode to them, and hopefully they'll get some good value as well. All right, let's get to it. All right, 3, 2, 1. We're in it, folks.
To win it.
Oh my God, guys, I'm back.
Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Welcome to my podcast, Brandino. Thank you for joining me.
If you guys are weekly followers, you know that Susie has been pretty much saying this at the beginning of every episode for the last...
You just think you're so funny.
Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic
fun fact
day.
about Brandon, guys, is when he does something that he knows he's a little bit cheeky, he does this like funny little face that goes with it, and he's just looking at me with that stupid little face right now.
Love you. Hi, honey.
Like, I can just imagine you getting in trouble as a kid and you having that stupid face on and your mom being like, wipe that face off. Like, it just makes it worse.
Listen, I'm just a smiley guy.
Just happy. Just a super happy, smiley.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Hopefully you guys are having a great day, and hopefully you guys are smiling wherever you're listening to this podcast in the world. Maybe in your car on your way to work. Maybe you're listening to it at work because, you know, work is overrated and you would much rather listen to this amazing podcast.
We won't tell your boss. Don't worry.
Well, unless, don't tell my boss.
Yeah, if you're listening to this at work, we have problems, babe.
Okay, we got a fun episode ahead, but before we get into it, I wanted to go into more of a serious banter topic, actually.
Boo. No, just kidding. I love it.
I have been listening to some of the podcasts that a few of our members have been sending me. Health podcasts, which I freaking love. I've had now, the most recent podcast I was listening to was from Ali. He sent me one from, what is that guy's name? It's a pretty popular, something CEO. Let me just pull it up here. The Diary of a CEO with Stephen. What's his last name? Does his last name pop up? I forgot the doctor's name last week. I forget this guy's name this week. It was Dr. Atzia, Peter Atzia, by the way, last week. But this podcast, The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, awesome podcast. He has some really incredible guests, and most of the time he has some health people there. And anyways, Ali sent me one last week, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Our members are seeking this stuff on their free time.
Outside of the gym and trying to learn how to better their health
even more.
It's crazy. Yeah, I freaking love that stuff. Now, please don't send me a mass amount of podcasts to listen to, because
everyone's gonna be like, here's your homework, honey.
Gonna have like 12 people just send me different podcasts.
Don't send me them. My podcast genre of choice is reality TV.
Exactly. But anyway, so I freaking love it, and it just sparked something, because yesterday I was doing something unhealthy, and it was Sunday, and I was getting myself a lovely treat, and I ordered something off of Uber Eats.
Naughty boy.
Very,
just so
very naughty.
Everybody knows, for the record.
Don't tell them what it was.
I didn't get anything.
No, you didn't. No, because Susie's on a non.
No, because I have self-control and I'm health conscious and I give a shit about my health.
No, this is a serious banter topic, okay? No more laughing.
Sorry.
But anyways.
I didn't want to have fun today anyways.
On that note, when I was on Uber Eats, popped open the application and I went over, and I was, actually doing the opposite of choosing a healthy option. I was going over to the dessert menu over there, and Uber Eats had updated their application, so it had a cool little new look to it. But on the browsing setting, they have like the groceries, the convenience store, they have the alcohol, you can actually get flowers now. That's very interesting.
You don't
Interesting,
say.
interesting. And anyways, one thing that popped up was a section called health. It's right at the top right corner of my app. And
you can Uber Eats Health now?
you can Uber
You hear
Eats
that,
Health
everybody?
now.
Cancel your gym memberships. Uber Eats Health.
Straight to your door. But what I found was extremely fascinating was that the icon or the photo for it was a pill capsule that had, like, you know, the little plus sign or a red plus sign on it.
Yeah.
Little medical sign there.
Like they put on like nurses' outfits.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was super interesting that, and I see this more and more often.
How they
that
chose to depict health was with a
pill bottle.
Pharmaceutical.
Yeah. And then when you click on it, by the way, it has nothing to do with actual health stuff. It's literally just like pharmacies. So it's purely medication and stuff, which I find that super interesting because as I'm listening to these podcasts that people are sending me and they're seeking health guidance outside of the gym as well. Like they're taking their extra time, not just to listen to our podcast. They're not just taking time to read the blogs that we're writing or, you know, coming and training 60 minutes in their day. They're actually going above and beyond and searching for outside sources for applications that they can apply to their day-to-day stuff to make health changes. But the issue remains that society looks at health as if it's a pill bottle or the doctor's office, or like I have something wrong, so I'm going to go focus on my health and I'm going to go see a doctor.
And their doctor tells them, stop doing CrossFit. It's bad for your knee.
It's too intense. It's bad for your joints.
Here's some ibuprofen to take instead.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I didn't want to dive too deep into this banter topic, but I just thought it was extremely fascinating ridiculous. And a little bit ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah, because we still, you know, like to this day, I still get messages from people saying my physiotherapist wants me to stop exercise. My doctor told me I need to stop CrossFit and I need to go see them for something that's been bothering me. It's like, hold on a second. Like, health is movement and eating good, nutritious foods and sleeping and stress management. Health isn't a pill bottle. Health isn't going to your doctor. Health is literally the complete opposite of all of that stuff.
Taking care of yourself so that you don't need the doctor and you don't need whatever. We are fans of modern medicine. Obviously, there is a time and place for medication. Our son is on medication for his reflux, you know, like we believe in modern medicine. We're not saying don't go see a doctor, don't whatever, but taking care of your health, the whole goal is to avoid the hospital, avoid the doctor, avoid having to take medications when not necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about the prevention of illness and sickness should be a major priority rather than I'm sick, I'm ill, I need a doctor, I need a pill bottle, I need something to help me. And instead of fixing the root cause, instead it's like, let's just put a Band-Aid on it. You know, like that Band-Aid's only going to hold for so long. Like we have a leaking issue right now, right? Like there is some fundamental issues in your lifestyle. A pill is not going to fix that. A pill is going to help the symptoms of what you're dealing with, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to help you feel good in your body, physically, emotionally, mentally, you know, and all that stuff. So
yeah, like you don't put a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and that kind of always reminds me, like what the founder and the old CEO of CrossFit, Greg Glassman, used to say. And he used to say, if you're drowning, you need a lifeguard, right? But if you have a swim coach, then hopefully you won't need a lifeguard, right?
Right.
So, you know, the doctors are the doctors are there. The doctors are there for, you know, you break a leg or, you know, there's serious issues going on. For sure, like you should go see your doctor. But if you're having like really chronic health issues, going to the doctor is not going to help the symptoms. But anyways, huge tangent here.
It's just interesting to see that society still in 2024, we're depicting health with pharmaceuticals instead of with exercise and eating well and going outside and getting good sleep and all that jazz.
Yep. Yeah, just a little bit of food for thought for you guys on this.
Just another thing that grinds Brandon's gears.
And then I thoroughly enjoyed my treat last night. Unhealthy treat.
That's called balance, babe.
Oh, yeah. We know it.
Like,
the listeners know it.
If you had type 2 diabetes and you had like no control over yourself and your health was suffering, it wouldn't be like a legitimate time to get a treat. But, 1 week out from your marathon, half marathon.
Half.
1 week out from your half marathon, you're like peak fitness right now, like a little Sunday treat is fine. But just so everybody knows on the podcast, I didn't get one.
Well, that's a good transition, my love, because next weekend I got race day coming up.
Wow.
And there's a decent amount of athletes at CrossFit Max who have signed up for the exact same half marathon that I'm going to be performing at. There's also a decent amount of athletes in the community that have signed up for, triathlons, duathlons, which I think was cool. We had a lot of people participate in high rocks competitions. We had a lot of people participate or signed up for CrossFit competitions.
Right.
So this episode is to hopefully get you guys ready for game day, race day, game day, whatever sort of performance that you have been training for. And it's to get you ready and to be as fit as you possibly can going into that day.
Yeah. And I feel like on our podcast, we've talked a lot about the difference between training and testing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of a good episode to discuss about how you would be approaching, in this case, it would be the test, the race, the whatever, test week, whatever the thing is. Actually, it kind of falls well with this podcast because test week is next week, right?
Yeah, CrossFit Max is doing test week next week.
Test week next week. Whoa, it rhymes. But the point
marketing.
Being, we totally planned that ahead and we knew that exactly. And we actually knew what we were going to talk about well before we started talking today. Not.
But I think this is
the whole point
good
is
point to bring
we
up.
do discuss frequently on the podcast. We have talked about this many times. There's a vast difference in our approach when it comes to training, which is what we do like 95% of the time. And then, or even like 99% of the time. And then what we do when it comes to a test day. So in your case, upcoming on Saturday morning is your half marathon test. This is where you are going all out. You're going to be wanting to fine tune yourself all week so that you're peaking on Saturday, versus the last 16 weeks you've been training for said half marathon, and the approach is obviously slightly different. Every time you go out for your training runs, you're not like, I'm gonna crush it, everything's gonna hurt after, and I'm gonna push myself to my limit.
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, it's really important to distinguish the difference between the test and the training, right? And you can't push your limits on a day-to-day basis during the training process.
Right, you won't stay like
So anything that we're gonna like really talk about in this podcast is not application tools for your day-to-day training stuff.
Yep, exactly.
Like, this is stuff that you're not showing up on a Tuesday morning at your 9 a.m. CrossFit class and thinking, today's the day I'm gonna freaking crush it.
I carb loaded just for this workout.
I listened to this podcast. Like, this is an event that you have signed up for, and we're preparing you for that game day. Sidebar, we had Coach Allen sending me, Tom, and Siobhan some race day tips, which I think is absolutely hilarious, which I'll go into some of the ones that he talked about later on.
You got to be careful about how much you laugh about this, because it's coming, like, karma's going to get
No, there's
you.
some really good ones. There's some that we're actually going to discuss in our session, in our podcast today. But there's one funny one that I want to bring up, which was good, but it actually does have good application to making sure you're ready for game day.
Okay.
All right. So
where do you want to start here?
Well, first thing I guess we should talk about is the week leading up to that prep, because a lot of people just I'm signed up for this event,
Right.
and I'm just going to keep training all the way through. And then when it comes to the event, it's ready. I'm ready to go here. Right. But I think number one thing that's important is like all the weeks that are leading up to this, maybe the months, like we're talking like a lot of training sessions. If you think about the half marathon that I prepared for that's coming up this week, I've done on average 3 runs per week for 15 weeks now. So that's 45, 46, 47 runs I'm going to do prior to doing that one run, right?
That's crazy town when you say it like that.
Yeah, that's a lot, right? So there is a decent
kind of annoying
amount.
that it's not 50. Did you just throw in a few extra runs this week?
I could, yeah. That's
against,
absolutely not
that
what
goes
we're doing.
exactly against what we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you've executed your strategy according to the plan that either your coach has written for you or that you've kind of done yourself, or the group classes you've been following, then you need to know that the week of needs to be some sort of gentle session.
Right.
You cannot keep the intensity going up until race day starts, because what happens is that you're trying to improve your fitness. So although you're not bringing 100% intensity to every single training session, there are kind of ups and downs throughout the training session, and usually there's a leading closer to, like, let's say 4 weeks out, there's usually a couple weeks that start to get pretty darn tough.
Yeah.
Because you're either running longer distances, you're trying to
Quicker
push a little bit
paces,
hard, you're trying to lift heavier weights. So there's usually an intensity period that's quite high, and that should lead to you building all of your fitness levels to get to that last week, right for game day week, right?
Yeah,
for
game day
you
week
to
is
be gentle on yourself.
Yeah, game day week is not where you're going to get fit.
No,
the fitness part has been
completed.
Yeah. This is now maintaining and resting.
Well, let's talk about resting in a moment here, but first thing,
like, no, not really. Shut up.
No, resting is important, but like understanding that you are not going to get fitter in that week leading up to it. Your fitness has already happened. And now what you need to do is this week is kind of like a good week to prepare to make your body feel as good as possible going into game day. Mm-hmm. So I think that's number one priority, is that week you can't bring intensity to the session. You should feel really good during that 1 week leading up to the race day. The second thing is not to overly rest, right? A lot of people get into their situation where they've done all the training and they're like, nope, I'm not going to train. Oh, like I'm going to take 3 or 4 rest days. And, each person is going to
be unique.
Yeah, be different in their approach to this. Like, I'll give an example. I am going to take off a day in the middle of the week, which I normally don't do. Like, let's say I'm going to take Wednesday off, which I usually always work out on Wednesday. This week, I'm actually going to take Wednesday off, but I'm actually going to work out the day before the race in a very, very low intensity gentle session, because I always feel that if I come into a training day after a rest day, I just feel like a little stiffer, rusty. Things don't feel a little bit natural. So I actually love to move my body the day before game day. So this Saturday is our race. I'm going to come and do our cardio session on the Friday workout, but I'm going to take it so freaking gentle. And the point is not to push, not to gain any fitness. It's literally just to move your body. Yeah. And I'm going to do some good stretching so my joints feel nice and lubricated for recovery. And this way, that'll prepare me as best as possible to feel good on the Saturday coming up. And
runners call that a shakeout run. Like the run they do the day before their race day when we're niche talking about running. Yeah. Almost all runners who are seasoned runners are going to do some very gentle, short distance the day before their race.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to figure out what you need to do in that week, but don't just chill. Don't just do nothing that entire week. kind of stick to your normal routine, maybe make slight adjustments, maybe take one extra rest day depending on your how intense your training regimen is. But again, make sure you're not just overly resting. Don't be like, oh, I'm not going to work out like 2 days before game day. You know, it's like you should probably do some sort of movement. Do
something. Just bring whatever you're doing, the intensity way down.
Yeah.
So
low
move
impact,
the body.
Low impact, low intensity, you know, and just get moving. Do some extra mobility work at the end. Like really make sure your body is feeling as good as it can going into the day.
Right.
Because a lot of people just kind of, again, get to that, like, I'm just going to get to race day or game day and just hope for the best. But it's like, well, we can take measures and do things before to help optimize how we're going to feel on that day. The other thing that we should look at is nutrition. I guess we could call this lifestyle, like nutrition and sleep going into the full week of going into game day.
So give up your babies.
Nana and Papa are taking Thomas for 4 days before. No, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
Just making sure that you're trying to optimize your entire lifestyle going into this. Making sure that I'm not just hydrating the day of game day. Like, you should be focusing on your hydration 3 to 4 days well in advance, making sure you're drinking a little bit more water, making sure you're getting your electrolytes in your body, because the worst thing that could happen is you showing up to game day being dehydrated, dealing with cramps or anything, lower amounts of energy, making sure that you're trying to get as much sleep as possible. This way you're feeling well rested, making sure you're going to bed at appropriate times, and maybe even considering like, okay, if I have to do an early morning wake up for game day, let's say I have to wake up at 5 a.m. Well, if you normally wake up at 7 a.m. every single day, well, maybe you consider waking up a little bit earlier throughout the week, right? On Monday, you turn on your alarm for 6:45, then 6:30 on Tuesday, then 6:15, and then 6 o'clock. And then you're slowly kind of adjusting yourself. This way you don't wake up on game day feeling, well, like I'm so exhausted, I'm so tired, I'm not used to waking up at this time. So those little factors that play, I'll also add nutrition here. Nutrition is huge, right? So again, depending on what you're doing, if you're doing an endurance sport, you want to make sure you're carb loading prior to the event, not just the day before, but making sure you're eating really healthy foods, making sure you're not getting too much inflammation in your body as well, making sure you're kind of sticking to a normal diet, but maybe perhaps adding in some extra carbohydrates going into game day. Anything to add on that lifestyle side of things? No getting into fights with your husband or wife?
But we don't fight. We don't fight. I tell you something and it's...
And I listen.
Fact. There's no fight. There's no argument.
Yes, boss.
Tell the people.
Do you have anything to add on that, on the lifestyle side of things?
Not right now. Maybe something will come to me, but right now, no.
So that seems like a pretty good preparation leading into the week of, right? Because maybe listeners have done this and they've kind of just gone game day, shown up game day and been like, wow, like I was not feeling on it before.
Top shape,
and I've done that before where you don't prioritize, these other things. And then you feel like groggy, you feel stiff, you don't feel like your performance is that great. And that's happened before. And that's the last thing you want to do when you've done a decent amount of training leading up to an event like the half marathon, or something like if you've signed up for a marathon or signed up for a high rocks, or maybe you've just spent a lot of time training and the CrossFit Open is coming up on the Friday night lights and you want to treat your body, or you've spent the last 6 to 12 months trying to do better than you did the year before, you know? So things don't just happen day of. Start looking at it like 7 days before.
Right.
Game day situation, you want to make sure, number one, you got your shit sorted out. Meaning
it's funny because it's true.
yeah, literally and I guess figuratively. Yeah. So You want to make sure you have your outfit ready. And this outfit,
You've worn it already
you've
before.
worn it already. It's not a new outfit. It's not new running shoes. You don't wear new running shoes on game day.
You don't wear
or
other
training
people's
shoes.
you wears you wear your own running shoes.
Yeah,
In case you're Tom and you just need a quick reminder and you're listening to this.
Do you want to tell the little story?
Okay, sidebar. Tom had a 10K race as part of his half marathon program by Coach Allen.
It was like a mid training.
Yeah. So
test.
I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, he had this 10K race and he sends a message into the group chat with Brandon and I and his girlfriend Siobhan. And he's like, guys, I'm at the race, but I'm wearing flip-flops and I didn't bring my running shoes.
Drove like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't like local. He couldn't like nip back home.
Might have been like an hour.
He could not nip back home and grab some shoes. And I was like, oh my God, he doesn't have shoes. Luckily, I knew somebody who was there as a spectator who was like potentially going to have the same size shoe as him. So I like called my friend and I was like, hey, my other friend's there. Like,
Shout out to
Andre, can you please lend him some shoes if you have some? So Andre literally lent Tom the shoes off of his feet and Tom ran his 10K race in somebody else's shoes.
I think he says he still has 2 black toenails because of that.
Yeah.
For that race.
Yeah.
But
so
anyways,
really important.
Yeah.
On game day.
You got your stuff together.
Make sure you have your outfit selected and your shoes with you.
Mm-hmm. And these are all things that you've worked out in, trained in, you feel super comfortable in. Nothing new on
No
game
new
day.
undies, no new socks, nothing.
Absolutely nothing, yeah. So there's that. You also want to make sure you got like your hydration. Man, talking is hard today. Hydration set up, ready to go. So for example, I have a running belt now, thanks to Justin. He got one for my birthday.
Shout out.
And, I got like 2 little waters in there. So making sure the waters are filled up, making sure you have your gels if you're doing like a long endurance thing.
That's actually like also something you need to have considered prior to race day. Like race day is not the day to try a new type of gel for the first time.
Nope.
You need to have like made your fueling, your during race fuel as part of your training process.
Yeah. Which gel am I taking again? The chocolate caramel.
Salted caramel.
Salted
Goo.
caramel. Yeah.
It's the best one.
Ugh, man, I have not enjoyed the goos.
I mean, I don't like them either. This one's just the best one.
It is, yeah. Although I didn't mind the blackberry one. Anyways.
It's just shocking because Brandon doesn't like blackberries.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Anyway.
I love all fruits, but blackberries.
I feel like we're so tangent-y today.
So making sure you have your fuel for the day as well. All right. So making sure that your water, electrolytes, any sort of pre-workout or boost or snacks are ready. And then making sure your food is set up for that day, right? So if you have an early wake up, make sure you're going to get that good breakfast in. Make sure you're going to get whatever. If you have a later evening thing, make sure you're getting a good afternoon, something that's not too different, but maybe it's it just kind of hits the spot and it's comfortable for you. You don't want to be eating something that you're not used to.
Exactly.
And then get to game day and be like, oh God, something's
I have
up.
the shits.
Yeah, something's up with my stomach right now.
You might have the shits anyways, but that's a side note.
Yeah, that's just part of the game, right? The butterflies, the stomach twisting and stuff. Can't wait for that. But everyone has them. If you feel like you get that all the time and you get nervous before an event,
oh my God,
cannot
I'm such
stress
a
this.
nervous pooper. It's not even funny.
I cannot stress this enough. This is absolutely normal and it happens to almost everybody. And if you're at a bigger event where there's hundreds of people or thousands of people, like all of those people are experiencing that exact same situation. I talked about the CrossFit Open. We're like 6 months or 4 or 5 months away from the CrossFit Open now. And people tell me, oh my God, I'm so nervous for this. This will be my 12th Open I'm going to be participating in. And I get nervous every single year. I get the butterflies every single time.
I have the nervous feeling in my tummy right now talking about it.
Yeah, like it's very normal. So the nerves, the stomach twisting a little bit. That's why you just want to be mindful that when you're fueling for that day, it's not things that are unusual, not normal in your diet.
Or things that normally trigger you. Like if you're like a coffee pooper, like maybe you have a different caffeine in the morning,
You have a different caffeine?
Like don't have a coffee 5 minutes before you run if you're the kind of person who drinks a coffee and needs to shit. That was my point.
Gotcha.
I just didn't want to say it that way, but you made me. You're welcome, everybody. I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're on your way to work and you're hearing us talk about poo.
Yeah. moving
Love
on.
that for everybody.
Moving on here. So that kind of gets you ready for the game day situation. Did you want to add anything to that?
I feel like I had something before, but it's gone.
So now let's talk about the performance side of things. It's 3, 2, 1, go.
No.
No.
You got to warm up.
You got to warm up. Yeah. I meant like
3, 2, 1, go.
I meant like 3, 2, 1, like the performance is on. Yeah. I guess we could talk about warming up and stuff for sure. So,
well, we can just say that you got to do it.
You got to do a warm up. That was pretty obvious. I thought.
You know how many races I've showed up and I've done 0 warming up, and then like gun goes and I'm like, first K is the warm up.
Oh my God.
Actually, pretty much every race I've ever done ever in my whole life.
It's terrible. Okay, I didn't know this was gonna be needed here, but yes, absolutely. You should have a
do as I say, not as I do.
Warm up routine prior. You should have been practicing this warm up routine weeks before.
The first K is not the warm up.
First K is not the warm up.
Got it.
Definitely not.
Got it.
Whether that's a high rocks, whether that's a CrossFit competition, whether that's a race, triathlon, half marathon, right. You need to get a warm up in, folks. You need to do some dynamic warming up.
I don't know why you think this is funny. You're just
need
like laughing, looking at me like
you need to get your heart rate up. You need to get your energy system activated. Well, you need to get your energy systems ready to move and to work here. You need to get your joints lubricated, and then, like Susie said, you need to get your muscles activated for whatever you're doing, especially if you're doing all of these game day situations. They are all most likely going to require a lot of muscle contractions. For example, like if you're running, there's a lot of repetitive steps. If you're doing a half marathon, you're probably going to take 21,000 steps in a half marathon. So that's a lot of like muscle contractions on your calves, on your quads, on your glutes, etc. If you're doing a CrossFit competition, I mean, you got to make sure all of your muscles are ready for that. Make sure you target the appropriate ones, and maybe if you feel like a little bit more stiff in certain areas, then spend some more time. But for sure, warm-ups are crucial. Do not let the first kilometer be the warm-up.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
Don't let the first round, don't let the first kilometer be the warm-up. I mean, that would be an awful situation to be in.
Okay, noted. Everybody knows that. I can't believe we had to say that.
Okay, good. Now, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, yeah. So now you're warm, you're hydrated, you've taken care of yourself all week. 3, 2, 1, go.
First, I think there's usually a lot of adrenaline at the beginning.
Yeah, like I am feeling it. Like, are you getting sweaty palms talking about this right now?
I'm getting excited for sure.
I'm not even doing an event and I'm like, oh, do I need to do a nervous poop?
The adrenaline is going to be higher.
Correct.
Right? Maybe the stress is gonna start to wear off a little bit, or maybe it's still in your system a little bit, but it is very, very common to go a little bit faster at the beginning.
Yeah, go out too hot. Classic.
You have to be very mindful of the situation, especially for an endurance event or even a CrossFit competition. If you go to It's very common in a CrossFit situation because there's usually a lot of people around.
Yeah.
And it's like in an isolated situation. Whereas, other game days have different situations, whether you're playing a sport, spectators watching, whether you're playing or whether you're doing a race, there's typically a takeoff period with, hundreds, if not thousands of people going off at the same time. So just be mindful and don't go too hot out the gate at the beginning. And I know there's going to be people listening to this podcast, and then in a week from now, especially after the race, they're going to be like, damn it, I went too fast at the beginning.
Justin.
So make sure you don't go too hot out the gate. Stick with your plan. It's going to be normal. But also, don't just go slower. Just try to enjoy that moment. It's such a cool feeling when there's that amount of energy in the atmosphere around you, like that high adrenaline, either the cheering from a crowd or from spectators around, family members, friends, partners, people that have known that you've been grinding this whole time, whether that's people sending you text messages before the event. Try your best to appreciate the moment. Just take it in and just soak it in and just look around and just try to go a lot slower. Actually, I wouldn't even say a little bit.
Hold
go
yourself
a lot
back. Yeah.
slower and hold yourself back at the beginning, because it is very common for people to blow up at the beginning of
Even
a
when
game
you
day.
are holding it back and thinking that you're holding it back and you're going a lot slower, you will still be going quick. So don't worry about like, oh, I don't want to stay back too slow. Like, let's say typically the athlete is trying to hold themselves back, but you're around other people who are all going out too hot and you can't help yourself. And then, you know, after, if we're talking about a running event, which is what we're specifically talking about for you, but in general, but after like, let's say the first K, can really like settle into the pace.
Absolutely, yeah. Then after the beginning of the performance has started, has commenced,
Yeah.
give it your all. Just have fun with
Yeah.
it. Like, you have done so much hard work. Leave no regrets in that process.
Yeah.
It would be such a shame for you to work so hard at something, for you to finish that event, that game, and be like, damn, I still had more in the tank, or, you know, I held back in the middle, or obviously, you know, we're saying to go slower, and then I'm saying go hard, but you just don't want to leave that event feeling regretful or angry at yourself, or maybe disappointed in your performance.
Yeah. I think that this is something that you could talk about doing pre-race, is having a race plan. Like if you're doing a running event, like having a plan, and then when it comes to execute, sticking to that plan is going to help you. So like if the plan is to resist the temptation to go out too hot at the beginning, and then, you know, do a little check-in at like that halfway point, and then at the end dig for the last little ounce of energy that you have, then execute that plan, and don't leave anything on the table.
Yeah, and just, you've probably spent hours and hours and hours of training, and that stuff is the hard part.
100%.
I know a lot of people get to game day and they feel those nerves and they feel that stress.
Right.
But that's not the hard part. The hard part is waking up on the early mornings, getting out there and running in the rain, in the miserable weather, because you chose to follow this plan and you stuck to it. The commitments, the pushing your, friends off to the side on one night because you have to follow the training plan, or waking up before your kids even wake up and getting out there when it's dark, and pushing your limits on the days that you're like, man, like my body's just beat up right now, but I'm still getting out there, and you're halfway into the workout and you're like, I just got to keep pushing. And then there's going to be that one moment that it's going to be all worth it. And this right here, the game day, is the worth it part.
It's the victory lap.
This is the part that you just put all your hard efforts. And not to say that game day is going to be easy to execute. No. It's going to have its challenges. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs throughout the process, but during those downs, just keep thinking about all the hard shit that you overcame throughout that entire process, and just keep pushing and enjoy it, and just give it your all. I think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. I find some of my best experiences on game day are experiences when, it starts to hurt, or you start to get maybe a negative thought float into your head, and then I like to use like mantras. Like I have like a saying or something that I've like mentally, like I have it in my memory bank and I use it all the time. And for me, it's always the same one, and it's super basic, but I just like inhale strength, exhale weakness. But I just like think about that. But other people have different things. Famously, what's his name from Texas? Nick Bear. Yeah. Has his mantra, go one more. Yeah. There are things that you can kind of dig into your soul to use to fuel yourself with some positive thinking, some positive energy as you're running. Question for you, Brandon, what kind of like self-talk do you have when you're in events? Because I know sometimes I can be like, don't be a bitch to myself, you know. Like I kind of like, not in a mean way, but like in a like fun but kind of like almost like aggressive to myself way. Like my self-talk is like that. And then also I have like my go-to mantras, like breathe in strength, breathe out weakness. And like those are kind of my like tools, let's say, my mental toolbox. What are yours? Do you have some? Do you know?
I do. I definitely agree that I talk poorly to myself like that.
but like in a coaching way, not in a like not in a hating on yourself way.
I'm in the training process, sometimes I'll be more negative on myself. I'll be like, you freaking suck. Like, what is this effort right now? That happens far too many times than I would like.
Yeah.
But yes, that being said, there are two things that I like to, I don't know if they're mantras, they're two things that I always relate to. Yeah. One was something that I heard probably 10 years ago from Josh Bridges. And it was like a YouTube video, I think. Okay. And he was talking about something that he heard, actually, but it came from him. And if you don't know Josh Bridges, he's an OG CrossFit Games athlete. He was the shortest guy in all of the events, but he was also the oldest of the crew. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, and he just brought like a no BS mindset to the CrossFit Games, but also very humble. Anyways, there was something that he said that really resonated with me, and it was, it doesn't hurt to run just a little bit faster. Like, it doesn't hurt that much more to run a little bit faster. And I don't know, I always say, like, when things get hard, I'm like, it hurts now, but it's not going to hurt me to run just a little bit faster.
It's not going to hurt that much more. Yeah.
Like just run a little bit harder, just a little bit faster.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good one.
And it was something that always kind of resonated with me, especially in like CrossFit. You know, we don't do a lot of running in CrossFit, but there are workouts where you are running out there and then you come back in lifting a barbell, doing some grunt work, and then getting back out there. And it was like, come on, you got 5 rounds to do. It's not going to hurt to go just a little bit quicker, you know?
I actually really like that one. That's a good one. You've just been gatekeeping that for the last 6 years. Cool.
The other one I like, I'm not sure. I think it was something I heard from Camille Leblanc-Bazinet, who is a CrossFit Games champion, and she's from Montreal, and she was just talking about like going into that dark place.
Yes.
So it's just something that
I'm familiar with the dark place.
Really, when you're doing an event and you're showing up to game day, like I said, game day is not an easy execution. Like, it hurts. It's meant to hurt, but you've done all the training to perform and execute and go into that like dark place, that pain cave. You know, a lot of people call it the pain cave, but just like being okay with, hey, like, I'm gonna go into this dark place right now and I'm ready to just give it my all. And I freaking love that. So when it gets really hard in game day, especially in a running event or especially a CrossFit workout, and you're like, man, I am hurting on every single part of my body right now, like, it's time to go to that dark place. Right now. Like, I'm gonna push so hard. Oh my God. It's like, doesn't matter.
Love to hate it.
Oh yeah. It's like, I don't care how much this is gonna hurt right now, but this is my event and I'm gonna dive headfirst into it. And let's just get into that dark place.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. So those are two that I love.
I love that. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by, like, I kind of talk not negative to myself, because I'm very like positive about my events, but I'll get to a pace where I'm like, this hurts, and like, I'm gonna show them, and I kind of tell myself, like, you don't want to leave these seconds out there, like, do better, like, you can.
Something I did often during the training block of this half marathon was, you know, I've spoken about it before, but the weather is a mindset.
Yes.
I freaking love that. Alan really got me hooked on that one. But
my dad gave me the breathe in strength, breathe out weakness too.
Yeah. And the weather as a mindset was so helpful during the training block, because I spent days where it was
pouring.
Well, there were some days that it rained, and like the more it rained, I remember there was one time that it just like, it was a beautiful day, and then all of a sudden I got outside. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go hit my run in about 20 minutes. I'm starting getting ready. As soon as I started running, maybe 30 to 60 seconds in, it started pouring, and I just remember looking up at the sky and being like, good, this is what I want. I want it to be so hard right now. And then there are other days that, man, like, I've trained throughout this entire summer, and there were days where it was brutally hot, and I'm like, good, like, when you're feeling so drained and you're feeling the heat from the sun on your skin, and you're feeling like every step forward after that is going to be your last step. And I just kept saying, like, this is, weather is a mindset. Like, this is good. This is like, just eat this right now. Like, when it comes to performance, just like
mental training, pure mental training.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
and physical, obviously.
weather as a mindset really helped me get through this entire training program, because there were some freaking hot days that I did long distance and I just ate up that sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, very cool. This section of the discussion has gotten me amped up.
Let's do it. You want to run 21.1K on
I
that?
I really do.
Yeah, let's get you signed up for something, baby.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last thing for game day, guys, is once that game, that race, that event is accomplished, treat yourself. You've earned it. Go out for a meal.
Do the victory lap and drink the beer, have the ice cream.
Hang out with friends. Really just soak that in, that you spent, sure, the half marathon took you 2 hours. The triathlon took you 3 hours. The CrossFit competition took you a few hours to perform. But there were so many hours and hard efforts put into that just take that day or that weekend to soak it in and just treat yourself, because you freaking earned it. And you're a badass for doing whatever. Any sort of signing up for anything requires that extra step of getting out of your comfort zone, going through the stress, going through the hard efforts, going through everything that we just discussed just to accomplish something. It's freaking epic.
Amazing.
So treat yourself.
Amazing. And I feel like showing up and executing everything that you have on that day is the accomplishment. You know, if you're somebody who has like a really like tight time target or something like that, and maybe you don't quite get that, you know, don't get down on yourself, because there is so much good that came from your whole training process. And when we are at the edge of our limits as human beings, we're not always going to achieve it. Let's just say if you are chasing a time that is like so aggressive, it's possible that, you know, race day comes and you have executed a really good race, but you don't quite get there. And that doesn't take away from all the dedication, all the hard work, all the learning, all the training, all the mindset growth that has happened over the process.
Heck yeah.
But also, like, just fucking do it.
Awesome. We end the podcast
with client of the week. Pew, 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 pew.
That client is Max.
Yay, Max.
And the reason it is Max is because
him.
He signed up for I believe it was a sprint triathlon a couple weeks ago or a few weeks ago. He's also been kicking it hard in the gym as well.
Yep.
He's been training pretty intensely. He's been doing his run clubs. He's been hitting his early morning 6 a.m. workouts. He's a dad of 2. You know, he's got a pretty busy job as well.
Right.
And he's just absolutely killing it these last few weeks. And I'm just wanted to shout him out because he definitely deserves it.
Yay. Go client Max.
He's also been just a pleasure to have in our community.
Love him to bits.
Kills it in the workouts. He brings a good energy to the group classes. He's extremely coachable, always wants to improve.
He always participates in our events too, which is amazing.
Yeah. So shout out to Max for being such an awesome client. Keep it up, buddy. And I know that he mentioned in the run club this week that he wants to be signing up for a triathlon next year.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
I believe in him, and keep crushing it, Max. Hopefully you guys got some good value out of this podcast. And do you have any closing statements, Susie?
Oh, yeah. Don't forget to make a playlist for yourself.
Oh, boom. That's a good one.
Yeah.
If you're listening to music. If you're swimming, you can't do that.
Bonus tip. If you're running and you're a music person, get that freaking playlist going.
I'm going to get mine going. All right, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.